Shall I start now?
Yeah, Vishaka, you can go on.
Okay, thank you. Look around the stage and I'm in awe with the collected expertise gathered here. We are deeply honored to welcome you all. A very cheerful evening to our adjudicator, teacher and participant. I'm Vishakha Raghuvanshi and we also have Mridul Agrawal as a student coordinator. A very cheerful evening to our adjudicator, Ms. Ananya Bharadwaj. Ma'am is currently working as a research associate in Competition Commission of India. She is a BBA LLB graduate and completed her LLM with University Gold Medal from National University of Odisha. She had written many articles which had been published in various national and international journals. We also have our faculty coordinator, Rahul Nima sir, who is assistant professor at PIMR Department of Law. The Prestige family is really pleased to have you among us in the event of National Debate Competition 2020. We are really excited to hear our participant and wish that this event leave the best mark in our memories. The room is ready, the tables are set. So let's start with our awaited Padma Shri NN Jain National Debate Competition 2020. Now, I would like to inform all the participants that they are strictly not allowed to disclose the name of their institute or university, and they can kindly mute themselves. Thank you. Ma'am, you can proceed now.
Thank you, Vishaka. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening to all of you and thank you for this opportunity. I'm again glad to be part of this national debate competition. And I thank Prestige Institute and the School of Law for organizing such an event. And I would now request the participants to give a brief introduction without mentioning their university name. So DEB 34.
Hi, my name is Shloka, and I hope that I can learn something from today's debate. Thank you so much for providing me with this opportunity.
Thank you, Shloka. Next, we have DEB 20.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Imran, and I'm really happy to have cracked the first round, and I'm looking forward to give my best on the second round as well. Thank you.
Deb 20, your voice is breaking. There are some network glitches on your part.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
So we can go forward with the debate. DEB 34. So that Vishaka, the time is being kept by Mridul.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. DEB 34. You can
Yes,
start
ma'am.
with your speech, and Mridul, you can start the time once she's ready.
Yes, ma'am. Start.
Okay. 68.8% of the Indian population lives on less than $2, that is rupees 140 per day. This makes the Indian subcontinent one of the poorest countries in the world. Each test of coronavirus costs the government about 5,000 rupees. And yes, free medical testing of COVID-19 in India is justified. Article 21 of the Constitution guarantees protection of life and personal liberty to every citizen. The Supreme Court has held that the right to live with human dignity enshrined in Article 21 derives from the directive principles of state policy and therefore includes the protection of health. Further, it has also been held that the right to health is integral to the right to life, and government has a constitutional obligation to provide health facilities. Failure of a government hospital to provide a patient medical treatment because of monetary purposes results in violation of the patient's right to life. Sick people with potential exposure to the new virus are being sent home. They're unable to pay 5,000 rupees for this test. Even if Self-initiated isolation by people with mild symptoms remains the most important community intervention. Free testing of all suspected cases, symptomatic contacts of probable and confirmed cases would still be needed. We need to be geared to respond to the evolving situation with the aim to stop transmission of COVID-19 at the earliest to minimize the impact. More than 400 million of India's 1.3 billion population lives in crowded cities, including many without regular access to clean water, conditions that could allow the disease to spread rapidly. Community spread is very likely, but the only way to know for sure is through more expansive testing. Laying emphasis on the urgency of increased testing for novel coronavirus, the Supreme Court has also directed the government to issue directions to approved testing laboratories for conducting COVID-19 tests free of cost. We propose a paradigm wherein private laboratories do not charge fees from public and the government should reimburse the fees charged by labs. It is extremely difficult for the common citizen to get himself or herself tested in the government hospital, and being no alternative in the site, people are constrained to pay the capped amount to the private labs for protecting their lives. The impending danger of coronavirus is extremely serious given the deprived population of the country, and testing is the only way to contain the pandemic. The authorities are completely insensitive and indifferent to the plight of the common citizens who are already financially burdened on account of the complete lockdown across the country. Further, the capping of the prices of the testing facility of COVID-19 in private hospitals strikes at Article 14 of the Constitution as being arbitrary and unreasonable. We account for 18% of the population in the entire world, but still the number of cases in India is much less than that of US, which accounts for only 5% of the population. People have not been tested enough, and to charge them for testing would be absolutely inhumane. You cannot contain the virus unless you know who has it. Okay. Time's up, right?
Toka.
Yes.
I have
Thank you.
one point of clarification from you.
Sure,
Can you
ma'am.
just clarify regarding Article 14? What did you mention?
Ma'am, I said that if you don't provide tests for every person, then it is challenging, because just because a person does not have money, the right to equality is being violated, because I have an equal right to be tested
Okay,
in times of the pandemic.
thank you. DEB 20, whenever you're ready, Mradul,
Yeah,
you
I'm ready.
can start the time. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
hi.
can start.
Hello.
Yes, DEB 20.
Yeah, hi. Myself, DEB 20, and I'm here to speak against the motion whether testing, medical testing for COVID-19, free medical testing is justifiable or not. So I'm against the motion. So I'd like to start by saying that medical testing is already free in India for COVID-19 in government facilities and government labs. If I talk about the numbers, there are 511 labs altogether in India for COVID-19 testing as per ICMR report. And out of those 511 labs, 359 labs are government labs and 149 labs are private labs. So we already have enough of government labs to test for those who are not able to afford for the private labs. And coming to the private labs, there are three kind of testing which we do. One is from RT-PCR, TrueNAT, and CBNAT. RT-PCR is comparatively costlier than when you compare it with TrueNAT and CBNAT, because those tests can be done with a range from 1,500 to 2,000 rupees. So the point is, it is not practically viable to ask the private labs to not charge any fees without any support from the government, because they are paying from their own pocket. Private labs run on their own fuel. So we cannot demand them to do the testing free of cost. And the Supreme Court has directed on 8th of April that the COVID-19 testing has to be done free of cost in all the approved ICMR labs. However, on 13th of April, it has clearly clarified that the direction was meant only for those people who cannot afford to pay 4,500 or whatever the amount which has been fixed by the government. And this is something which can be affordable to certain sector of the society. agree, understandable that certain sector of the society is not large in number, is very less in number. However, they can still afford to pay and they can use the facility for the private sector. Coming about the government sectors, the government is trying its level best to provide required infrastructure and resources in order to cure the COVID-19 patients. So we have our own PPE kits manufacturer, we have our swabs, sticks manufacturer, and we are already improving our infrastructure. So the government is doing very good. And the government cannot support the private lab to do free of cost testing for other section of the society, like which section of the society. That is because it is also looking for the revenue. In the eve of this coronavirus, the whole world is suffering with this pandemic, and the economic fall down in the whole world is huge. We can expect the estimated GDP decrease in the whole world is 3.9% in wake of this coronavirus pandemic. However, in India, the government has estimated 4.8% instead of 5% for financial year 21. And there are many experts who say our GDP will be 1.5 to 0.9% if the pandemic continues to stay with us and the lockdown continues. So that is a huge downfall, that is a huge destruction to our economy, and the government has to something running in order to secure our economy. So I would like to conclude my speech by saying that it is not practically viable to demand from private sectors, because we will expect some economy, some level of money from the rich people who can afford to pay for the COVID-19 testing. And the government is already trying to do the level best to improve the infrastructures and facilities of government tested labs, and we have huge in numbers. So everything is fine and it's going on good. I wish good luck for the government of India, and thank you very much.
Thank you, DEB 20. DEB 34, are you ready with your rebuttal?
Ma'am, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible. So
Yeah.
your rebuttals, yes.
Yeah, you can start now.
Okay. We need to first clarify over here that in order to overcome this pandemic, you need to detect cases. You cannot, why are we in this pandemic? We need to, in order for us to combat the pandemic in the first place, let alone economy, how are we supposed to come out and live a life of normalcy? This can only be done through testing. Most people may be asymptomatic, but that does not mean that they cannot transmit the disease. Community transmission is already taking place. Next, coming to the point that even for the economy to run, we have to combat the virus, which can be done through extensive testing. And what about even if and there is also fear of relapse that is there, because of which it is so important for us to test. What happens if there is a relapse? Who is going to how are we going to fully overcome this? That is why testing is very important. Coming to the next point, we do not want our case to become like Italy, where we are becoming lackadaisical and we are relaxing and we are giving more importance to the economy. The economy will only be able to run if there is production. How will production happen? When we ourselves are allowed to go outside and work. Okay, and 60% of the population. For 60% of when you're saying that enough government labs are there, that's not true. We are 1.3 billion people, 18% of the entire population in India. How do you say that there are enough labs? People are not being tested. Why do you think that buildings in Matunga and all have been sealed down? They're not even letting them come to quarantine centers. That's because we do not have enough resources. And I have already stated, coming to the point of private labs, I've already stated that private labs should be reimbursed by the government. Then coming to the point where rich people and like there are only few people, I'll say that people are already losing money because production is not happening. Even rich people are becoming bankrupt. Do you know about the case of Sarvodaya, or even of the case where a very famous shop in Mumbai had to close down because the restaurant, because the company went bankrupt? Okay, and I'm completely agreeing to the point that there will be a loss of GDP, but economy can only run when people are able to work, and that when there is production. We will not be able to sustain the economy when we ourselves are not working. there are many benefits which are included over here. If when the economy runs, we will be able to return to normalcy. The poor will be able to get at least some money to sustain.
Thank you, DEB 34. DEB 20, are you ready with the rebuttals?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd first like to start by saying that India is currently not focusing on the rising cases. It is focusing on rate of spread of coronavirus because as per WHO, the only way to stop the pandemic is to flatten the curve. That's rightly pointed out that 511 labs, is it enough? No. For the population for our country, it is not. But we are still working. We are trying to develop more and more labs. But the point and factor here is that private lab is just 149 and government lab is 359. So it is more than 100% in private labs. So you have free testing facility already. Talking about more provisions, more benefits provided by the government, you have Ayushman Bharat, Jan Arogya Yojana scheme. There are 10.7 crore people who are beneficiaries of Ayushman Bharat, and they are getting free testing in private lab as well as in government labs who are embedded with that scheme. So you get the facility there as well. You can also apply right now for Ayushman Bharat because the applications are there. You can get one of the card for the Ayushman Bharat in your family. So this is how the government is trying to control the pandemic. And talking about the economic factor, we have to deal with that as well because we cannot lay off our hands of the economic sector. Because somewhere down the line, we are positive that India will be free from coronavirus. But what about the basic necessities of each and every individual? The government is already trying its best to bring out packages like 20 lakh crore stimulus package. Now, even at this moment, our finance minister is addressing the media, giving out the schemes from the 20 lakh stimulus package, 20 lakh crore stimulus package. So this is done in order to help those people who are in need, who are unable to work, who are unable to go to the workplace and get some income, earn the living, have shelter. So for those people, these are the packages which have been relieved. And also for those people, for the businessmen, for the informal sectors, for example, MSMEs, for them to improve their production, to increase more and more contribution to the economy. That is the main motive of the government. And there are two motives, in fact. One is to restrict the pandemic, which is very important right now because rightly pointed out, without health, there will not be anything. However, economy is also has to be taken care at the same time because we cannot lay our hands on that. And the private sectors are given right under Article 19 to carry on the business. So the Constitution of India also gives us the right to the private firms to carry on. The government is trying its best to provide its services. So I conclude my speech here. Thank you.
Thank you, DEB 20. Both DEB 34 and DEB 20 had very valid points. It was a very engaging debate. I wish you both all the best. Thank you, Assistant Professor Rahul Nima, for being present on behalf of the Institute in this debate. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like Rahul Nima sir to propose a vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, Rahul Lima, Faculty Coordinator, on behalf of PIMR Department of Law, would like to extend my gratitude towards without whom we couldn't have pulled off this event. That is our adjudicator, Ms. Ananya Bharadwaj, ma'am, our institution and the organizing committee who worked tirelessly from day one to make today a reality. The entire organizing committee of NDC, our sponsors, audience, and everyone who helped in the event, here together extend a very heart vote of thanks to our adjudicator, coordinators, speakers for gracing their event and enlightening us with their opinion today. Thank you everyone for taking the time to be here today and for listening me. Have a great day. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.